old one is like half the size. Shiny. I need to get cake.
Yeah. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. Just about. I just want to say, first of all, this is the second year of Migrant Festival. And it's so great to see so many people in full gallery for our first event in the galleries. But yeah, I just want to cover housekeeping before we start. So there are surveys on your chairs. And if you could fill those out at the end of the event and hand them back in, it would be really helpful to us. There should be pens on your chairs as well. We're live streaming this as well, so if you ask a question in the Q&A bit, be prepared to be on YouTube. It shouldn't be as scary as that sounds. It would also be good if you're into Twitter and Instagram, if you could use this handle here and tweet or Instagram about the festival. That would be a great thing. And that's it for me, actually. I'm going to hand over to Lindsay. So this is Dr. Lindsay Stover. She's our head of learning, and she'll be chairing the discussion.
So, welcome to Icon Gallery. This is the first day of the Migrant Festival. I'm really pleased to see you all here in support of Jon and Vanley, which is great. You're sitting in the exhibition of Hugh Locke, and we've programmed the Migrant Festival to coincide with the last 4 days of Hugh's show. And it's titled Here's the Thing. And it really does reflect an experience of migration on boats, between homes. And tomorrow night we have Hugh who'll be talking about that experience with David Lammy. Whilst Hugh and David are Londoners, tonight we have a pair of Brummies. Jon Bloomfield and Vanley Burke. They share an interest in and a commitment to documenting migrant experiences in this city. Today, the University of Birmingham introduced their newly acquired archive of the cultural theorist Stuart Hall. And it was Hall who said, "The personal, social and economic life of black people as they arrived, settled and became established in British society is being constructed, given a certain meaning, significance, value by Vanley Burke's camera eye." Vanley Burke is a British Jamaican photographer, artist and archivist who has had solo shows at Icon, including Handsworth from the Inside in 1983 and At Home with Vanley Burke in 2015. His archive is within Birmingham's civic art collection within the library, and last year he exhibited 5,000 Miles and 70 Years at the MAC, who have recently reprinted his 2013 exhibition catalogue, The Rivers of Birmingham, and there are copies of the catalogue here that you can purchase. Jon Bloomfield is a historian by training and an urban policy specialist by practice. Currently, he's an advisor to the EU's largest climate change initiative, and for over a decade has been an honorary research fellow at the University of Birmingham, having previously worked for Coventry and Birmingham City Councils. He's just published Our City, Migrants and the Making of Modern Birmingham, which tells the story of 50 people who have come to the city over the last 50 years, covering the work they've done, their trials and tribulations, and their contribution for life and the prosperity of Birmingham. Again, we've got Jon's book, Our City, here, and you're happy to sign copies after the talk and between our streaming of the following. So, come over and join you both. We've just had a little chat downstairs in the cafe. And I'm going to ask several questions to Jon Vanley, and then we'll open up to the floor, so please have your questions ready for them at the end. So my first question is simply Birmingham. Why Birmingham? How Birmingham? Why are you here? Why is it a subject in both your practices, and how is it synonymous with migration?
Well, I really followed my family here. Sorry, it's random. I, like many people, followed my family here. I came here in 1965 to join my parents who had previously immigrated to Birmingham, and my mother became press. She chose Birmingham because a family member of hers was living in Birmingham. And I think what you find is, for example, Birmingham, you'll have people from a particular area in Jamaica will come to Birmingham. For example, in Wolverhampton, you find people from a particular area in Jamaica. In Leeds, you'll find people from a particular Caribbean island, which I think is St. Kitts, Nevis, and so on. In London, you find people from Barbados and so on. So you tend to follow a trend and follow the people who've come before you. And while here, quite a few people also migrated to settle in different parts, and people that move around from Cardiff to Birmingham or Birmingham to London and so on. But mine was that I followed others to come here.
That's the first time I think I've ever been called a Brummie. I've lived here 40 years, but you can tell the accent is from somewhere further south. But maybe I've got multiple identities in the sense that my grandparents came to East London having to flee pogroms in the old Austro-Hungarian and Russian empires before the First World War. My parents grew up in the East End. Me and my two sisters benefited from the welfare state after the Second World War, but like most people who've come to Birmingham as migrants, so you come here for work and then you put down roots and stay, you adopt and adapt to the new city, and you try and make efforts to do that. So, for example, while I'm, dare I say it, in this audience, a lifelong Arsenal Football Club fan, I didn't impose that on my two kids who are Villa fans, and I went with them to watch the Villa as they were growing up. So you adapt and change, but I think that's like many people. You come here for work and you settle and you integrate.
Why write a book on Birmingham? Well, both of you have got Birmingham in the title of your books that we've got here tonight.
Well, the Rivers of Birmingham it just reflects, if you like, a proportion of the body of work that I have been undertaking for, I think, nearly 50 years now. My interest when I came here, I think it started in my youth, living in Jamaica. As a young man, I used to sit on the hills of St. Thomas looking at the aeroplane.
Here we go.
Oh, yes.
Very timely.
Yes. Sitting on the hills of St. Thomas. Within there, there are odd places where we could see the aeroplane. And we used to look at the aeroplane going over, and we used to shout to the aeroplane to people who we knew were in England and shouting, asking them to send something for us. And if you keep it on the first one, I'd be grateful if it's not timed. So, can you go back to the first image, please? The first one is important because I think that's where a lot of the interest, if you like, in people who had emigrated came from. As a young lad living in that environment, we would listen to people's story about what England was like. We would hear, I say listen to because as a kid you don't really talk to your elders because, as a child you don't really, that's not your role is just to listen, eavesdrop. And we would hear many stories about life in England, about factories, about fog, snow, about the hardship they were having, and some pleasant things. And we look forward very much to the photographs, the presents that were sent back to us at Christmas, birthdays, and so on. And it was on one such occasion that I received a camera, a Kodak 127 box brownie camera. And if you imagine again living in there, as I was saying to a friend today, we made all our own toys. There was nothing there to buy. We had sweets when my grandmother would go to market to sell the produce that we produced, and then she would come back and she would make knit balls and all of that sort of thing. We as kids used to eat beetroot, to make our tongue red, as opposed to licking the many sweets that I see around today. And from that environment, I wondered what was like here, and the whole idea of questioning and trying to understand. And I would have conversation as well with our friends of mine there, because we'd see the airplane take off as a young lad. We had no concept of geography, too young to be taught geography. The plane goes up in the sky, where's it going? Flat Earth didn't really come into it at that stage. It was like it's going through the clouds, but how does it, where is England, why is it cold? And these many questions we would have. And I think when I came here initially, we had a shop in Grove Lane, and for me that was quite significant, because it was there that I was able to listen to the stories of people who would come into the shop to buy groceries, and they would spend time and tell their stories. And I would listen to these stories, and I wanted to see the life that they had lived previously, but there were no record of this. And while I felt everyone had a story, I didn't feel everyone was able to relay that story, and I felt that at a pretty early age that I would like to document these stories. First of all, I wanted to become a photographer, but that didn't really work. You know, you go around, take a photograph, take them, print them in a darkroom that I've made in my grandparents' house, take them back to the family. And I remember on this occasion that really put me off. I think it might have been my second visit to this house, and the person in question said, "I'm sorry, you'll have to come back next week because we just paid the paraffin man." You used to have paraffin delivered to your house to heat the house in those days, and because the paraffin had beaten you to the cash, then, you know, so I said, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. So I decided what I would do is I'd document the lives of the people, and I thought I was at a particularly unique position to, if you like, recognize the presence of these people, and if I started documenting now, I'd have a pretty unique documentation of migration from one part of the world to another.
The individual, the portrait, and I wanted to apply that portraiture that's within Vanley's practice to your book actually, Jon, because you have 50 interviews with people, you collect 50 stories, and I wondered, you know, also with you, Vanley, how do you identify those people, and how do you develop that trust within a moment, and where do you meet them, where do you photograph them, where do you interview them and get their stories, and how do you protect them as well, their identities?
Okay, well, linking the two questions together, look, migration is one of the most divisive and dangerous issues facing us in the 21st century. And the wave of ignorance and venom that is displayed, particularly in parts of the media and by politicians wanting to whip up disagreements and division within our society, seems to me make it extremely important to find effective ways to counter that story. And rather than doing a general history of migration, which after all affects most of the big cities of Europe, all of the big cities of Europe are now multi-ethnic. There's no going back to the position pre-Second World War. So the question then is, how do you focus on that? So I wanted to focus on the city that is my adopted home for the last 40 years, where I've known many people from different backgrounds. Most migrants come for work. Refugees and asylum seekers is clearly different, but the majority of migrants come to seek a better life, and that's what they tell you, for them and their children. So it was on that basis that I then looked, right, what are the broad characteristics, looking at this city, that people have come here for? And so the book details the first 6 chapters around different types of work that people have done, including heavy industry, the National Health Service, some who set up their own businesses as entrepreneurs, some who, the sons and daughters tend to go into white-collar work, into service industry work as the economy has changed from the post-war period. And then migrants always has found doing what I call the soft underbelly of society, the 3D work, the dirty, the difficult, the dangerous work that many people don't want to do. So the chapters are focused around that, and the way I then found people was looking within that template for people who fitted into those categories, and then you looked for a mixture of those who came from the Caribbean, those who came from different parts of South Asia, then those who've come more recently from parts of Eastern Europe, a few from Africa, I've got someone from Turkey, someone from China, in that kind of way, that fit those categories. You get some disappointments when people promise, people who are, you know, my dad or granddad who worked in heavy industry, he'll do it, and then they shy off. But you bring together a collection that meets that spectrum. Some people want to do it anonymously, you then respect that, you give them a different name. But I have to say that the vast majority of people I interviewed felt comfortable and were very frank and open and honest, and that's what makes the interviews so interesting.
Vanley, in terms of it's interesting that you were talking about how you set up your own practice. You created your own work, and you also photograph people at work as well. Your studio itself, it's a moving thing, isn't it? It's part of the everyday. It's often you take out onto the street and photograph people as you find them.
Yes, yes, I do. But mine is the conversation that I would have in Jamaica. What I decided when I came here is to, if you like, have a conversation, continue that conversation with my friend back in Jamaica. But rather than speaking to him, I decided that visually, so the photographs that I would take, I imagined what would he like to know about Birmingham. And so I would break it down into politics, religion, social, economics, and so on. I'd have these headings, and then I would go around to find those suitable subjects to answer the questions that I know I would like for him. Or, to hear based on what conversations we used to have as a child. So, for example, religion, I would do the established churches, that's the CAD, the Roman Catholic, the Pentecostals, and so on. And within that, I would do practices like washing of the feet, baptism, and various other practices within those institutions. With education, into the formal and informal education sector. As a group of people, we had to establish organizations that served our purpose because we weren't generally served well by the society around us in terms of education. So we would have Saturday school, for example, and summer schools, which would provide education and, if you like, safekeeping for a lot of the young children. So I would find out where these are, I go, and this is where qualified teaching would give up your time to come in and work with these youngsters, and I would find where these are, and I would go out and I would take photographs of these occasions. So it's really just, if you like, observing very closely and watching the development of the community and try to document elements of that as I go.
And interestingly, the second half of our city deals with exactly those cross-cutting themes. So Vanley there talked about the Afro-Caribbean community with regards to supplementary school. So I start off the chapter 8 on education with the story of the Polish supplementary school that was staggering and suffering with a small Polish community, and how it was taken over and transformed after the 2004 intake of Poles. We've got chapters on God in the city, dealing with religion, and sex, love and marriage, dealing with the changing relationships within the different migrant communities and with the indigenous white population, as well as a chapter on politics. So they're mirroring, in a way, the types of photography that Vanley is undertaking.
We were talking earlier about, because you work journalistically, don't you, as well? You write for papers, and Vanley, you also have an archive. You collect newspaper clippings, and you have done since the late 50s, I think. I just wondered about, since the 60s, yeah. I wondered about your relationship, both of you, with the media, and also the link between the media and racial prejudice as well. Have things changed? Has the media's coverage of migration, has it changed? And also, how does this translate into everyday life and everyday experiences?
Well, as I indicated earlier, and as you'll all be familiar with, there are enormous negative expressions on a regular basis within the print media and now online in the UK and also. You know, Powell was then playing with fire in the way that Nigel Farage and others are playing with fire today. The book is an attempt to try in popular language, so too much of the writing on race and migration is written in a rather obscure, constipated academic style to suit the requirements of what's called the REF process in universities, whereas this is deliberately designed to appeal to ordinary people who've got an interest in the topic. And to give you an idea of the impact, so I've just been talking to Lawrence and Nav, who work on a refugee project in West Birmingham with the health service, and we were able together to get an article. I was able to get an article into the Guardian in February that was describing in fairly simple terms what this project was trying to do to ensure that the overseas medical qualifications of refugees in the Greater Birmingham area were then utilised so that they could be used as a necessary resource that would help the health service within this city. And the pair of them were just telling me beforehand about the very considerable impact this has now had within the authorities and even down in the National Health Service headquarters and with the Health Minister in London as a result of just being able to tell this story and get it out there. Now that, you've got to try and find ways, that's the reason to try and get into the media, to try and tell a different kind of story. It won't always be easy, I'm not going to exaggerate what we try and do, but the book is designed so that this isn't, you don't have to have a PhD in sociology to read about these issues. This is something that should be easily communicable, and that's why one of the reasons of doing it with individual people is it humanises it, gives a human voice to migration, and it changes the nature of the discussion and the content. And I think in that sense that's similar to the impact of what photographs can do.
Well, I really don't write newspapers. I didn't, and I decided I wouldn't work with newspapers. I didn't trust newspapers because they would mean that if you look at the back of this book, you will see some of the press that's been, it's been really nasty. And that's from the journalists. So we're having that sort of response from the journalists. What will we having from the average people in the street? So I vowed not to work for papers, really. And also, the relationship that I have with the people who I photograph was, if you like, a personal one, and I didn't think they gave me permission to broadcast their photographs when I wouldn't be in control of what was written about them. So I really stayed clear of newspaper. However, having said that, I did try briefly to take some photographs for the West Indian World, I think, at the time, and again, that wasn't very successful because, again, it wasn't dropped that you ran around doing all this sort of thing, nothing, you get paid and all of that. So I still knocked that on the head. So newspaper, I would say get a book if you can, but if you can't, find ways of just reading the text at the back of the book, and you'll understand my fear of newspapers. However, in these cases, you did mention that I collect newspapers, but I collect a lot of things that have an impact on our lives, and I don't necessarily collect them because they're good, I also collect them because they're bad. And the newspapers, although I started collecting from the late 60s, I have to say I did lose a lot of material in a fire that I had in the shed where a lot of this material is being kept, but there is an abundance of material that I have. So not all the press cuttings I have, not all the newspapers rather, and I like to collect the whole newspaper, so I don't just cut out a piece of this newspaper. so you can read the whole newspaper. And sometimes it's, like I said, it's not about the fact that you're in it. Sometimes it's the fact that you're not in it as well. I try to do. And the material I collected, if you like, for a future generation to look at and to make judgment about. And I don't think if I make a too selective collection of newspaper cutting that I would fare in giving them a choice to make a decision as to what, if you like, the press representation was like of the people at the time.
I have to say that reading your book, John, and also looking at your photos, Vanley, there's such a brilliant optimism in them, and they're so positive in tone and in spirit. And John, I know that you wanted to read an excerpt from the book as well. And maybe Robert could have the showreel on as well. We've got a few slides of families that we were going to play on loop in the background. Thanks.
So this is on discrimination, which is one of the cross-cutting themes and has been one of the staple issues that have been raised, and many of Vanley's photographs have covered this. So one source of unease and wider resentment arises from the treatment at the hands of the police. When asked about his experiences, Mo, who's one of my interviewees, who's an entrepreneur, who's a food entrepreneur, Mo laughs. Yeah, and Mo's parents came from Barbados and Jamaica. He describes growing up being harassed by West Midlands police when walking back from Small Heath, which is where he went to school, or being stopped by Black Maria, put up against the wall and searched. That was our experience. We just took it as part of the course. It continued later when he was an adult and a qualified youth worker. Mo had a love of German cars and worked on youth projects in Frankfurt and Munich, which developed his fondness for BMWs. They last a long time and are easy to maintain. He always remembers when he first bought a BMW. The amount of times he got stopped was absolutely ridiculous. I remember one night on the M6 coming back into Birmingham, we got stopped. "How does a chap like you afford this?" says the copper. I started laughing and then said, "One goes to university, gets a decent job and works bloody hard in order to afford it." "Don't be so rude and facetious," replied the police officer. Sam's story is almost identical. So Sam's dad came from the Caribbean and worked at British Motor Corporations at then was. When he got his first company car with ICL, he used to get stopped by the police every few weeks. He recalls having conversations with police officers. One sat in his car for 45 minutes. It was the 9th time Sam had been stopped that year. So he asked the officer, "What are the chances of a driver being stopped by the police at random while driving along the road without causing an offence?" The officer didn't know. So Sam told him that the chances are 0.4% in a lifetime. It just doesn't happen. "I didn't stop you because you were black," the officer responded. "I didn't say that," said Sam. "I asked you, why did you think I've been stopped 9 times this year?" He got no answer. As Sam says, that's how you experience the system. Now these are classic stories, but they're not ancient history. The data for the first half of 2015 for the West Midlands Police area revealed the continuing bias in stop and search incidents. Pakistani Asians and people of mixed race were more than twice as likely to be stopped as white British people, while black Caribbeans were nearly 4 times as likely to be halted. 2/3 of the searches didn't result in any police action. While the overall use of stop and search is declining, this ongoing persistent bias serves as a constant reminder of discrimination.
You know, Vanley, I was saying that John and I first met a few weeks ago at the MAC. We were there for the screening of Black Audio Film Collective's Handsworth Songs, which is, of course, it's from 1986, and it's includes footage from the Handsworth riots in 1985. It was filmed on your video camera that you'd sold. Your cine camera.
My Bolex H16. I had plans to be a filmmaker.
And also they include, it's beautiful, an installation of your photographs within the film. You are, as well as like individual portraits of people, you're really known for photographs of kind of crowds and masses at demonstrations, at festivals, at funerals, and also the modern kind of formation of a black diasporic identity. And I wondered if you could say a little bit about that, because in a way it contrasts with the stories in Jon's book, which are from migrants of different identities and different waves of migration.
So, about film?
About your involvement with the Black Art movement and that black formation of identity.
Okay, I've just really gone out and single-mindedly done what I felt I had to do. I felt I really needed to dedicate. What was happening at the time, a lot of people were having conversation about, our history, about where we were we were going, and somehow I think a lot of the history was being sort of jumbled up. You know, we're getting East Africa mixed up with West Africa, North Africa, the dates were wrong, the Caribbean, Americas, and so on. Our history has been so complex, but similarly brutal, if you like. And I felt that I needed to dedicate myself to it. And I remember where I realized that there is no money to be made in this, and I decided that sacrifices has to be made, and this is my sacrifice. So in order to establish, if you like, a body of work that future generation can use, if you like, to establish themselves so that people wouldn't have to run around to hunt pieces of paper to write researches. If someone wanted to write a book, they didn't have to go, you know, to Tom, Dick, and Harry. They could come to the archive. If they wanted to write a play, they could find the material. If they wanted to do dressmaking, they could look at fashion from past years and so on. So I really decided that was, and everything else, if you like, is, if you imagine a road that goes straight through, and everything else is a branch of that road where I will veer off right or left and stop a while, have a conversation with various groups of people, if you like to get that information, if you like to collate and to bring it together in a source that will, if you like, be of benefit to all.
So Vanley's work focuses on settlement and how people settle and their lived experiences, both human and everyday, and then their wider experiences, both individual and collective. When you're looking at migration as a whole, one, I think you need to recognise that that's always what happens with first-generation migrants. They always cluster together. My parents' and grandparents' generation clustered in the East End of London, in Stepney. And then this is true if you look with regard to the Irish, whether it was in Liverpool or parts of Glasgow, black communities, Ugandan Asians, Kenyan Asians in Leicester and elsewhere, Asian communities in the middle towns in the north of England. This has always been the case. The question then is, which I try and tackle at different stages in the book, is how do you achieve political unity within the migrant communities and between them, and with them and the host community? So my experiences are shaped by the experiences of my parents in the 1930s, where defeating Oswald Mosley's fascists was only achieved by unified with the indigenous working class within East London, so that Cable Street, which stopped the march of the fascists in the famous battle that overcame and clearly defeated Oswald Mosley, was a united front. We had examples of that in the 70s with some of the black movements here in the city, and where the workers' associations, whether they were Indian or Bangladeshi, Tony Hook, Kashmiri, where they saw themselves as linked to a unified labour movement. This clearly fractured in the 80s and 90s, and the question today, and I try and pose it in the book, is how do you develop an intercultural model? That's the posh word, but I try and prefer to just say, how do you develop mixed open cities where you get open exchanges, where you've got an open city and an open society, and where the challenges that you've got in terms of equality and inequality, you don't pose the inner city against the outer estates. You try and ensure that the ways of bringing people together to lift educational attainment or to create new jobs for young people and whatever, you try and do it on a cross-cultural basis, not by prioritising one group against another. That just breeds division.
What you find is that people tend to land in these so-called inner city deprived area. You arrive there and then you disperse as you become more affluent through education or whatever. And I think what tends to happen, what I believe is, so-called ghettos are not built or not made by people who move in those areas. I think they're made by people who move out of those areas. And if we can't unite those people who were there before, it's going to be very difficult to unite those who have arrived with such meager resources that have been offered to them. And a lot of the time, it's those resources that has brought about the differences between these groups of people. And I think unless those are tackled, then the conversation about uniting groups of people will remain the same. We will forever be thinking about uniting groups. Because while, for example, the Irish community were in hands with them, the Jamaican community came in hands with them, the Salvation, then the Ugandan nations and so on, and all these people move in. Now we have a lot of people from Africa, from Eastern Europe and so on moving in, and we didn't solve the first problem. So I don't think we're necessarily going to solve the problem. I think what we need really is a greater resources to put into the education and all the infrastructure within these cities to allow people who are quite deprived, if you like, with a lack of work, lack of healthcare, lack of education, lack of childcare, and so on, to enable them, if you like, to live a more meaningful and fruitful life, and then become, if you like, a contributor to the wider society.
Today at the university, there was a question about the politics of the archive. Obviously, Stuart Hall and the Centre for Cultural Studies was very much at the margins of the campus, and he was very involved with the Handsworth community as well. And there was an exchange of letters and resources between the university and the community centre. We spoke earlier, Vanley, about your ambition to, and the way that you exhibit within the community, and your ambition to have an archive that is accessible by the community, particularly by young people. Young people being a force in your book as well, Jon. And I just wondered about this, your kind of belief and your support of creativity within young people and their self-organisation and their collective workings.
Yeah, I really, because whatever I do is for future generations, then I really have to believe in young people. And during hard times, and there have been hard times really, and I think success is not really judged by the hard times that you have, but how you cope with it. I feel I've coped with it reasonably well. But I remember on one occasion I thought to myself, what would happen if I were to take an advert out in one of the newspapers and say that I was going to burn all my negatives in Handsworth Park at 12 o'clock on such a day. And I thought, who would notice? Because here I am saying I'm documenting for the community. Where is this community? Who is this community? Does the community know I exist? And I so happened to mention it to a young man in Handsworth Park, and I said, you know, like, what would you feel if I were to burn? And he said, well, they're not yours to burn. And for me, that really answered the question. I might have produced the material, but they're if you like, much larger than I am. And for me, the reward I get is when I go to the shop or wherever, and or I still have exhibitions in showrooms and restaurants. And when someone meets me in the street and they say, without photographs, they wouldn't be able to tell their children their history. For me, those are the rewards that I have. Or if I have a photograph in a restaurant in Los Angeles, and the owner stopped and said, he said 7 of us were in the restaurant after it closed, and we spent 2 hours talking about your photographs which are in the restaurant, and we came to the conclusion which is your best photograph. And for me, those arguments wouldn't take place if those photographs weren't there. And what I do is I exhibit in pubs, and I used to a lot more, pubs and clubs and cafes and wherever there are spaces. And as I say, there should be in Handsworth at the moment that you can go in and see them in a restaurant and various places.
Look, it's always really important to protect and defend the legacies of the past and the culture of the past. Yeah? It's only authoritarians who want to destroy and banish and cut up or ignore those legacies, and that's why ensuring that you've got places where the lived experiences of people who've come to this city, in this case particularly since the Second World War, are preserved and can be seen and can be nurtured and supported. But we should also recognise the dynamism that, the reason the book's optimistic, the dynamism that the newcomers to this city have given. So when I see the African Cultural Exchange, or if you just go down to Digbeth to the Impact Hub, full of young, mixed-race and intercultural small businesses. If you go to down there in Digbeth at the custard factory and around there, you'll see Big Freaks. If you go to Aston University or Birmingham City University, I mean, Aston University's now got 52% of its intake is from the greater Birmingham area, many from Hodge Hill and Lozells and elsewhere. These are this is the talent and these are the assets for the future. And that's sort of enormous grounds for optimism that we're a mixed open city with people from a whole range of backgrounds who, despite the issues of 10 years of wage stagnation, of major cuts in public service provision and austerity, nevertheless you've got people who are finding their way to make lives and make it together. And I think that's a really important message to get over in answer to not just the Nigel Farages, but the upmarket racism of people like Roger Scruton. You know, we are a living example of how they are just wrong, and we can make a successful city with the talents that we've got, the diverse talents we've got within it.
I have to say though, I sometimes get very disappointed with Birmingham when I look around. If we look at all the building sites around here, and you can count on one hand the black person who is the gatekeeper. He opens the gate and he lets the lorry in and out. That is very disappointing. You look at I mean, wherever you go, we're not reflected. We're not being employed. Unemployment among young men is very, very high. I mean, Birmingham, for what is called a migrant city, I think it treats the migrants very poor. They're not reflected very much at all in the work environment in the city. It would be good to see them a little bit more, and I understand that young people are striving to get better, and some of them will succeed within the universities and so on. But I think there's so much more that can be done. And if none of these guys, you don't even see them driving the forklift truck on the building site. You know, they're not up a ladder, they're not fixing. I mean, just look outside in front of the library with all of that, and just work that's going on there. And you just stand there for about 10 minutes and count how many black people you see working there. You you know, the city needs to do better, really.
Should we open up to the floor?
Yes.
Yeah, does that, so, questions please, at the back there.
I was just thinking as you were talking about an archive, and we've got this huge library just down the road with a Shakespeare room at the top of it. I was wondering, first of all, would that not be a great place to have some sort of dedicated room for archives at Migrants? And firstly, and secondly, what sort of engagement do you think you might get from the City Council for something like that?
I have to say that I am quite fortunate in that respect, in that I have an archive based in the library, a pretty substantial one, and one which is really only there because of Pete James, that is because of my mistrust of these institutions. I feel that there is so much material which represent us as a group of people that has been gathered over the years and is locked away within the basements of these institutions, that I didn't want to contribute to that. But after I had a fire in my shed where I had a lot of this material, Pete James said to me, we must keep them in the library. They'll be yours, you can take them out anytime you want, but please let us keep them. And as a result, I have a pretty substantial archive there. But at the same time, looking at extending the whole process, a bit like the Schomburg in New York, which is part of the State Library, a Black Research Center in Harlem. I'm hoping to, if you like, establish part of this archive in Handsworth as well, where the people who are reflected in the archive are able to, if you like, be part of the dissemination, the contextualization and protection of that material.
Access your own archive at the library.
Yes, anyone can access the archive, it's online. I was quite fortunate again in that a substantial amount of that archive was what do you call it? Digitized and also made available online, so you can go online as part of Birmingham's library. And what I should say as well is that the museum bought the entire collection of photographs which was represented in this book as part of it. So in that sense, the material is there. They have gone to great efforts to make that available to the public. They've made a display of it in the past, and people constantly borrow that material. So yes, we're making strides and it is there, but I just feel somehow while that is being done, we as a people, it is being done for us. And the people who, if you like, were part of the struggle to establish themselves, which form part of the archive, are not, if you like, in charge of that material. And I think somehow they should be have a greater say in the archive and how it moves forward.
Any other questions?
Hi. Thank you both, it's been so interesting. Finally, I was wondering, you mentioned that you exhibited photographs in pubs and clubs, and I know that you have done in schools and other community spaces. I wanted to know what's the difference for you exhibiting photographs in spaces like that compared to an actual curated gallery exhibition, and how do you find those differences?
For me, it's just important. It's not always that the average person can go to a gallery And I remember having an exhibition here at home with Vanley, and it's wonderful when I remember a young lad who came in with his dad, and when he came in with his dad, he saw a photograph of his granddad on the wall, and he was so pleased to see that. And it does wonders for kids to see themselves reflected in the community. And again, at the MAC, there's a window there that I've done as part of 5,000 Miles and 70 Years, the Windrush. And again, Debbie, the director of the gallery, they were thinking of keeping the window up. And she said she was passing one day and she heard this young lad say to his dad, "Look, Dad, we're in the picture." And she said after that, somehow she had that in. So, I mean, what I would do, for example, in Simmer Down, when I was getting those exhibitions together, I made a print, I think there were about 200 images, and they were all printed in one sheet. So I just took them to Handsworth Park and I just rolled them out in the park. And within, if you like, 10 minutes, we had a group of people just going around. You know, they formed their own land going around the whole picture. They love to see themselves reflected in the society, and basically that's all I'm trying to do. And it doesn't matter what shape or form. I think the pubs and clubs and schools and places like in Street Corner are very important, but I think equally it is important for them to be represented in these spaces because it then opens up the spaces to them and allow them, if you like, to feel a greater part of. Because, I mean, for example, a lot of them were asking, where's the map? They didn't know, or where's the Icon Gallery? So now they've established that the Icon Gallery exists. And, you know, it's like, when are you going to have another exhibition at the Icon? You know, they don't understand the whole nature of the process, but they want to see more. So whenever I see people, it's, when is your next exhibition? Is, you know, what are you doing? And so on. So there's always this question, and I like to keep that. And again, because they've allowed me, if you like, in their life, to take these photographs, I like to share with them exactly what I'm doing at all
I want to talk to Jon about the issue of migration because normally when we talk about that, we think in terms of economic migration and what people contribute to Britain. There is, however, a history that is hidden and not talked about, and there are people like myself who are disabled, and we never actually feature in history. Not only are our lives not included, the actual fact that deliberately written out, in my opinion, this distorts the whole issue of migration and why the action actually helps reinforce stereotypes that the far right then exploit for its own end. So I think there's a double negative there.
Well, Bob, I think it'd be fair to say, look, this book is not a comprehensive history of Birmingham, and it's not intended or doesn't seek to be. The way that I've pitched it and organised it, and it was organised particularly around the issue of work, means that, for example, the experience of unemployed, long-term unemployed migrants doesn't adequately feature. Yeah? Now, it was organised around work to counter the main myth that we get with regard to migrants, that somehow people travel thousands of miles to pick for the delight of picking up a DHSS welfare benefits check. So it's specifically organised around the fact that people come here for work. That then means that while one or two of the people have been unemployed from time to time, it doesn't deal with that segment of migrants who are unemployed. The issue of disability, similarly, it isn't something that features within the book itself. But it's not trying to be a comprehensive history in that way. I try and ensure that there's a balance between men and women, but inevitably there's a certain weighting towards more men because, again, on the focus on work, although it picks up a significant number of women for whom work was a secondary feature of their life, but they feature within the book, as well as getting others who did lots of working jobs. But I can't pretend that it's a comprehensive history. It's not designed to be that, but it's designed to, if you like, show that people have come here, how they've grafted, and how they've contributed to make the city what it is today. I think that's how it stands, and that's how it should be evaluated.
Before we say thank you to you, I was just going to say that you mentioned the Windrush family, and upstairs in Hugh's Armada installation, you might have spotted that tiny model of the Empire with Windrush. And we're going to be talking around that with Hugh and David tomorrow. But we're going to show the colony now. And I wondered if it's a film that you know quite well, isn't it? And I just wondered if you'd like to say a few words about it and what it means to you, this film.
Well, it's kind of personal, really, because I know quite a few of the characters in the film. One of whom was a good friend of mine. We used to call him microeconomics, and he's one of the older gentlemen of the community that we would have conversation with about exactly what we were doing. These are guys who would hire out a room in a pub on a Sunday evening, and a group of them would go there and they discuss the type of migration and their relationship with this country, their host country at the moment. There's Pastor Dunn, who featured quite a lot in there, and he died not so long ago. He's a gentleman who came here. I think he had churches in several countries and a huge contribution to the black community in terms of business and religion. So yeah, there are quite a few people in there that I know personally, and I thought it was a very good film, especially documenting the thoughts of these guys at that time.
So I think if we just like to say thank you to Jon and Vanley for the fantastic conversation. A comfort break and a book signing as well.
Yeah, so about 5 minutes. We're just going to move the screen into the middle so we can see it. And I think Vanley and Jon are happy to sign books just in gallery 1. See you in 5 minutes.